Welcome to the latest edition of First State Kopites podcast. This week we're delighted to be joined by Alisha and Nader from the Anfield Shop. And we're going to talk about the Anfield Shop's new relationship with the parent club, which sounds really exciting. Hoping to hear some great things about that. Also, Sean's on, and welcome back to Tim. Tim hasn't been on for a while. Glad to have him. Totally looking forward to his one thing you saw this week, because he always has something. No pressure. He always has something.
Yeah,
Worth listening to. So before we get started, a couple of things. If you haven't subscribed, whatever platform you're watching, listening on, then please do. One of the things that it's probably worth saying is as we get kind of certainly in the northeast, the colder winter weather, then most of us won't be getting together in any form to watch any of the games. So kind of hoping people keep safe, but still find ways to watch the Reds perhaps more interestingly. I'm going to go off on a tangent now, but I actually watched yesterday's game with Hot Mike, the Anfield Reps Hot Mike. I'm thinking this is going to be really helpful going through the winter, because it feels like you're kind of hanging out with the boys, and it's much better than listening to Arlo White. Anyway, if you can find it. Hot Mike. End of tangent. One more thing. I know Yumiko listens and watches the podcast, so I do want to say thank you to her, because she translated the edition we did with Richie and Damon in their podcast where we talked about Hillsborough and survival. Anyway, she shared it in Japanese, which obviously I haven't read exactly what she wrote, but hopefully it was word for word what we covered, because that was an outstanding episode. But thanks anyway, Yumiko. Right. So let's get to the agenda, which sometimes seems a bit weird because we never seem to actually really have an agenda. So Alisha, welcome back.
Thank you.
Obviously a lot's happened since you were last on, and tell us something about the new relationship with Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah, so back on the 16th, we had a nice press release go out, both by ourselves and the club, announcing that we are official retail partners for the club for the next couple of years. It was a big deal for us. The club has never had a retail partner in the States before, so it's something that has been sort of our our goal, I think, for the last 8 years, and something we always wanted to do. So to finally cross the finish line is exciting, and we're very excited about what this means moving forward and what we can do for fans in North America moving forward. So it's all good things.
That is, I saw all the social media traffic where a lot of people were very excited about the idea that rather than kind of, I don't know, go to some kind of national company who probably didn't have a lot of association with Liverpool, instead going to you guys who are kind of clearly kind of invested in Liverpool's success as supporters, as well as through the Anfield Shop. What's going to happen in the short term? Anything going to happen in the short term?
If you go to the site, you'll notice kind of slight modifications in terms of layout, trying to get more on brand, kind of with their overall retail strategy. So from the front end, you'll see stuff has changed. Rewards program will be beefing up for fans and offering more incentives that way. We moved e-commerce platforms. So I know a big gripe over the years was, that stuff took too long, and, this really sort of takes us to 11 in terms of what we can do to improve the buying experience. But beyond that, I don't notice if you're going to see that much change. We're going to be stocking a lot more of Liverpool stuff. I mean, their retail team over the past couple years has just come out with some incredible stuff. And I mean, it used to be a lot of the projects we created was because of lack of stuff. This didn't exist, so we wanted to come out with it. And so you'll see a lot more stuff, new website. Yeah, so far.
All sounds good. All sounds good. So if someone's listening to this and they don't know enough about the Anfield Shop, what is the website, and where can they find you, basically?
Okay, yeah, AnfieldShop.com. We ship every day from Paulsboro, Washington, which is just kind of outside of Seattle. But it was started by me and my husband Josh about 10 years ago, kind of to provide a local option for fans. We ship to Canada, we ship to the US. Man, as quick as the club is with DHL, I don't know if we claim to be any quicker than they are. But more of a personable experience, I guess. If you call us, there'll be somebody answering, and any questions, banter, all that good stuff. So just kind of wanted to plant the flag in North America, and the club is letting us do that now moving forward.
So speaking from personal experience, I think that there are a number of times where I've probably not placed the right order or got the wrong size on something, and there's never any hassle about just reaching out and turning things around, which is absolutely awesome. I don't want to say you couldn't do that with the club shop. I don't want to say that. So
no, they've got a global audience. They've got their hands full with an incredible amount of volume, and so we're here to basically kind of lighten the load a little bit and provide an alternative. And so no knocks against the main club shop at all. They have an incredible operation, and what they do on a daily basis is nothing short of incredible. We're the little junior varsity upstarts, I guess you could say.
So what's it going to mean in terms of new Nike products? I'm told that they've got like a bunch of different things in the works, like their tech range. I don't know if that's what it's called.
You know more than I do. We are very new to the Nike family. There's not, we're just sort of getting the ropes. We were with New Balance for a really long time, and typically people don't join Nike, just cause. And I think, obviously with the club we are, so we're just learning what that means. Obviously if it's an exclusive, we want to stock it. We'll stock everything they make, but you guys probably noticed there are different things, different countries get different pieces. And so we're trying to kind of learn the greater strategy and all that. But certainly if it's made available to us, we want to order it. We want to stock it.
Awesome. So I'm going to turn to Nader now. So you have been for quite a while, I think Alisha told me, doing the graphic designs for Anfield Shop, and I certainly think there's I should have checked this before we started recording, right? So I don't know if you're responsible for the Fort Delaware sweatshirts.
Yeah. Yes.
They were extremely popular.
Oh, great.
So tell us a little bit about your role and kind of how you come up with the designs, the ideas, because that was a good one for sure.
Thank you. Basically, I work with Alisha to try and figure out, what's on the agenda each week and seeing what we can do and how we can kind of make an impact. So, in the Fort Delaware case, it was more of, trying to kind of surround the OLSC with a local landmark and something that kind of sticks out, still feels strong, classic, and something that people want to rally behind. So, just trying to do things like that, trying to, like Alisha said, fill in the gaps where we can.
It's cool. I kind of feel like probably should do an update to it with a 64 games unbeaten stamp on it or something. Because that's what it's all about, right? Fortress Anfield.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's really awesome. So what have you been working on this year that people should know about?
Well, with the new update, there's definitely been a lot of pieces that we're trying to put out for the new, I guess, fall winter collection. So some of that is kind of going back to sort of like the classic, timeless sort of look, abiding by the official brand standards and things like that, but trying to still, get a little outside the box where we can. And then alongside that, we've just been looking at how we can do like player series a little bit differently than previously to try to maintain that 3-player rule and things like that. And it's nothing too out of the ordinary, I don't think.
So I know that we're hopefully very close to having our new OLSC Delaware shirt, which I know you've been working on. I'm going to send in the latest iteration tomorrow, fingers crossed. But I think we really like the whole notion of it's good to be first.
Oh, definitely.
We've got kind of a ton of stuff, obviously, that's using that as a theme. One, I'm going to kind of go backwards, and then what we'll do is we'll start to move on and talk about yesterday's game, because we're recording this on the Monday after Liverpool beat Leicester 3-0. Fine performance, I think, which I think we'll talk some more about. But just how do you start as a Liverpool fan? Just it's always a thing that we'd like to get people to talk about.
Oh, how did I become one?
Yeah.
Honestly, it really.
Right? Like,
what was that?
I kind of roped you into it a little bit, right?
Oh, definitely. That's what I was just going to say. It really started out with my relationship with Anfield Shop, because previous to that, I had kind of loosely followed football in general. I had some friends growing up that were Liverpool fans that I would just watch their games as they were, watching it, and had no real like allegiance anywhere. And as soon as I started working with Anfield Shop and reaching out with other people and talking to some other supporters, I really just loved the whole family experience. And from there, I started watching games more often, and I just started following, news and stats and things like that. So definitely, as our relationship grew, my fandom grew.
That's great. So I'm going to we'll talk about Leicester in a moment, but I do have one important question. I'll put the Robbo book behind me to remind me of the fact that it came from you. Is there a plan to carry more Liverpool books, or are these just the ones the club are?
One with books, because right off the bat you're working with weight, right? You're mailing very heavy things from international. There's also we found quite a lot of issues with publishers and rights, and some can't sell us because they have a US, but then the demand isn't big enough to do a run, and it's been interesting. I think the plan is to, especially now that a lot of the players are coming out with, I'm probably halfway through the Robbo book at the moment. It's funny you've got that. Did you win one of those lucky ones?
No, I ordered it from you, and then about 2 weeks later you said, "Oh, if you buy one from us now, you'll get a signed copy."
The publisher was a little late. Like, we got the regular books came from the club, and the signed books came from the publisher, and we had a little unfortunate overlap, but we gave away 5.
Okay. Well, I haven't started it yet because I'm still working my way through Simon Hughes' a couple of Simon Hughes' books. So one particularly that I saw got a good write-up was the Mel Reddy book about.
Yes, we do have that one on order. That comes out January, so we'll have plenty of that guy. Hopefully, that's public knowledge January, or else podcast exclusive January.
Put it in the show
notes. You didn't hear it first if it isn't public knowledge. All right. Good stuff. So let's turn to the boys in red and their performance yesterday against Leicester. I'll kind of we'll do a spin around. So I'll start with this. According to Neil Atkinson, Liverpool's expected goals yesterday was the highest of any game they played since they played Leicester in Boxing Day at the end of last year. Which I watched it back today, which I kind of like to do, and it was like, how was that not 5 or 6? I have no idea. So, so Alisha, I want to start with you. So many man of the match performances, so many moments that I thought they were so just excellent in. What did you take away from the game?
To me, it's just you see. I mean, I think everybody was sort of terrified with all the injuries, right? Like, how in the world, how do you do this against, and Leicester's got a great team, but for me, it was the never give up. That just continues. You saw it with Bobby, getting like ridiculously close to a goal, and then, kind of having that attitude of, I'm not going to finish the game without one. And then I love seeing the fact that every single player after the goal, wanted to come over and give him a hug and everything else. Like, I don't know. Is it one of those turning points in the season where it's like, you can take our starting 11 and we'll still come together and find a way to get those points. I thought it was very exciting. I thought it was very, I don't know. That one could have been a whammy match, and it was anything but.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, there was some people on our podcast last week that thought we were going to drop points yesterday. So, usually I say something in any of the podcasts, which you could come back a week later and go, well, that was completely wrong. It was good to be wrong. Nader, what did you make of yesterday's game? Who's your standout?
Honestly, I've been impressed by Diogo. I really hadn't heard much about him previously, and just watching him so far, it's been really impressive for me.
Yeah. So I've had several people say I had no idea who he was, because he obviously played for Wolves, but I don't know if we were paying a lot of attention to him. And I'm kind of wondering whether the whole Traore thing was just a smokescreen that Liverpool themselves were putting out there to mask the fact that they were really going to sign the other guy. So is he the first Liverpool player to score 4 goals at home in his first 4 Anfield appearances?
I think that's what I heard.
Yeah, wow. It's, there's a lot of people who've come before him that you would have expected to have done something like that. Definitely a player. So Tim, welcome back.
Oh, hi, thanks.
What did you make of yesterday's game?
I was kind of in your camp. I don't know if I would say I was expecting to drop points, but I wasn't necessarily expecting to get 3. So I guess I was expecting to drop points, but I was pleasantly surprised. I think that was definitely one of the 2 most dominant games we've played this season. The other one being at Atalanta. Or against Atalanta. I guess we're at them tomorrow or Wednesday. Anyways.
I think we're home. It's hard to know. Okay. I think, yeah.
Not that it makes a difference anymore, right? But yeah, like you bring up the XG, and I mean, I think Bobby's XG was 7, right? And that was on 2 plays. The over the line thing was ridiculous for me. There was a lot of texting going around besides between several people. Like, how short did they say that? They said that was short by 10 centimeters. And I'm not a big metric guy, but I'm pretty sure that was way less than 10 centimeters. Maybe like they meant millimeters. I'm not sure.
I also heard 1 centimeter, actually.
Okay. Maybe that was, I don't text reliable people, so that makes sense.
But I should also tell you, I stopped the TV when I was watching, like paused it, and it's like, it's over the line. It's like, it's not touching the line.
Yeah.
And after the Aston Villa Sheffield United debacle at the end of last season, I'm not so sure. I'm convinced that's 100% reliable.
Hawkeye technology.
Yeah.
I think my man of the match, though, I think I'll go with Joel Matip. I wasn't expecting a lot from him. You see all the memes going around with him wrapped in bubble wrap. And there was one particular one where somebody got in behind the defense, and he and his big lankiness was just running at like full speed. And I thought, oh God, for sure he's going to tear a hamstring or something right now. And he got right on top of it and cleared it out. Didn't even kick it in the back. It wasn't even a corner. It was just like out to the side. So I want to like him more than I do, and maybe we'll get the chance now that, there's quite a run on center backs on the club.
He stays healthy, right?
Yeah, and Klopp seemed to back him for that. In one of the pre-match interviews, he said something about like everybody gets on him for being fit and stuff like that, and he doesn't seem worried about it. So, trust the boss.
So it is worth reflecting on the fact that he played like a solid chunk of time at the end of 2019, winning the Champions League, including the only previous outing of the Fabinho Matip backline where they kept Lewandowski quiet for a whole game. Forgot
about that.
No small task.
No. I'd certainly been a bit more concerned about Lewandowski yesterday than Jamie Vardy, which we'll come on to him. So, I'll share one thing. The writer from The Guardian today, what did he say? He said, to say Vardy was feeding off scraps is to exaggerate his involvement, which I loved. You don't have to talk about Vardy, Sean, but what would you talk about?
I agree. I was pretty nervous about the match going in. I didn't expect us to drop points, but I wouldn't have been surprised. Um, especially the way VAR's gone for us this year. One goal goes against you, and it can totally throw the match. But I was really impressed with our midfield. When you saw the lineup, it wasn't that surprising, but I don't know how often that midfield ever played with each other before. There was Curtis Jones,
Don't think so.
Gini, and Naby, and I thought they were all like unbelievable. I mean, almost everybody had a good game, but I thought those three in particular, like they just worked so well together. And for me, until he got injured, unfortunately, Naby was probably man of the match for me. I thought he was outstanding, but I'd also give Curtis Jones a shout. Not that he was necessarily our best player, but I thought it was definitely the best game he's ever played for us, for me. And I just thought I thought we completely dominated the game, and that was largely because of the midfield. And yeah, it was just an all-around dominant performance. I mean, what else can you say? Really, they didn't get much. We kind of controlled everything until maybe there were a couple chances in the first half, and then later in the game, kind of mid to late second half, they had a little bit of a run, but they never really felt like doing much. And we easily could have had 5. I mean, Bobby could have had 3. So it was really nice to see, and it was really nice to see how the team came together with all the injuries we have. I mean, think about the players we have injured. It's like Van Dijk, Gomez, Thiago, Salah was out. Like, these are like world-class players. Trent, you take them out of any other team, it's hard to imagine that you'd see that kind of performance. So I saw a lot of people saying that this is one of the best examples of Klopp's management. The fact that we could just come right out with a team like that and dominate a team like Leicester that was top of the table. So, it was all good. It was
lot to say in there. I'll give everyone one more chance to kind of reflect on what they thought from the game. But you're saying that Bobby could have had a hat trick. I mean, I think Johnny Evans could have had a hat trick, right? He was doing his best. What I mentioned at the beginning, listening to the hot mic with the Anfield rap, and it was hilarious because the corner after he'd headed in, they're like, "Oh, is Diogo Jota is marking the danger man," to Johnny Evans, Leicester's corner. It was our corner. It sounded much funnier yesterday than it did, obviously, right now. But I'm not even going to explain it because it's going to make it worse. So what's more around? If you kind of think about kind of Leicester coming into the game, what they were second before the weekend started, I had a few comments about the fact that they probably were fooled a little bit by the fact that they'd beaten Man City 5-2, where they kind of laid kind of traps for City and City had fallen into the traps. Of course, it helps if you're going to give away 3 penalties in a game, if you look around the league and you kind of look at our performance yesterday, was I guess how much of a statement win was that in terms of are Leicester going to be in the top 4? Do we think? What are your thoughts about the bigger picture about yesterday's game? How significant it was? I'm sorry, Alisha.
No, I said Tim shaking his head.
Brendan Rodgers not going to coach anyway. Go on. Alisha, your turn.
I don't know. Like, can anybody say anything anymore? I mean, Leicester won the league however many years ago. Like, this sort of stuff's not supposed to happen, but it did. And credit given where credit is due. Leicester's kind of an interesting one, right? Because you do have the Brendan Rodgers connection. You do have some of the other bits. I don't know. I just I'm pleased as punch that we got 3 points. That is just to me that is a statement. Yeah. And I don't think it's an important statement in November, before May, but I think it's important to say, like, look, we can still be without our best and we'll still find a way.
Yeah. I think someone pointed out that you could pick the world's greatest 5-a-side team from the players that weren't playing yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Like find
Legitimately, yeah.
Find a better three than Van Dijk, Thiago, and Salah, and we'll fill in the gaps with someone else. Yeah. At least Salah, Paris back in training, and so Nader, any more thoughts about yesterday's game, about what it might say for Liverpool's title challenge, perhaps?
I mean, I'm just hoping it's a good indication of, what's to come for the future. If this is what we do with, a bunch of players down, hopefully as some people come back, we'll be in really good shape.
Yeah. Hopefully. So Tim, you were shaking your head at Leicester top four. You can go there, or
Yeah, I just don't buy it. Like, I think it was the same thing last season, right? Like they came out like a ball of fire, and everybody was like, "Is Leicester gonna compete for the title this year? Are they gonna make another run?" And then we played them on Boxing Day and said no. I think yesterday was Boxing Day. It was an early sale because of COVID. I don't know, but I think that was a statement victory for them as much as it was for us, because it proves that they're beatable, and I think they didn't play their game. One of the things I remarked about yesterday is it looked like Jose Mourinho could have been their coach for the first half. They had like 7 in the box, 8 in the box most of the time, and so obviously, like when your game is a transition game, playing out and kicking to Vardy so he can go score an unassisted goal. It doesn't work when you're parking the bus. And then they got a little bit more into it in the second half, so they looked a little bit more themselves, but it was still 3-0. So
yeah, I think Rodgers did make a point after the game of saying, "Well, this wasn't like Boxing Day. There were just a few things wrong here. This was so clearly he realizes what an impact they had on their season last year, because they really didn't play well after we beat them 4-0. Yeah. So a friend, Sean Rogers, I listened to him today, and he made the point actually that the dumbest thing they did from his perspective was try and kind of all these people trying to attack James Milner, because what that did was leave Andy Robertson wide open to do things like make the second goal, for example. but he wasn't the only problem he caused them. So final thoughts on the Leicester game, Sean?
A couple of things real quick. First of all, I don't miss Brendan Rodgers' post-game match interviews as a Liverpool coach. It's like David Brenton Rodgers, right? His great insights. But I will say on that second goal, and this has gotten a lot of play online, probably a little bit of overplay, but that cross-field pass by Curtis Jones really set Robbo up. And, I mean, the cross from Robbo was perfect. It was an absolutely perfect cross. But, he doesn't have the ability to make that without the pass from Jones. So,
yeah,
it was great. I'm going to go ahead and make a bold statement here. Right now it feels to me like there's a 2-team race in the league, even as close as it is right now. And it's not Man City. It's Liverpool and Spurs. To me, it feels like Spurs are the only team that are even remotely in the same class as us right now. That's just my feeling on it right now. That could totally change, but City just don't really seem to have it. I don't think Leicester are for real. I totally agree with Tim. Yeah, that's what I felt about it. I mean, I feel like Leicester, have played some good games, and they're not a bad team. Probably like a top 6, top 8 team, but they're not going to finish top 4, and neither are Everton. So just throw that one in there for you.
That's a given. But I think Leicester's benefit is they only have to play us one more time.
So that's the other thing. Like Leicester's, they're becoming like our new Norwich, right? When Suarez was here, he would score 3 against Norwich every time. Mm-hmm. Brendan Rodgers is like we have a field day against him every time we play him now. But
so I'm not going off and quoting Simon Hughes about Brendan Rodgers, would he be more respected? We did talk about this, right? If you saw this, he wrote a piece which is like, would Brendan Rodgers be a much more respected coach if he didn't do post-match interviews? No, yeah, we've used that before. Curtis, though, apparently that's the thing Scousers do, right? They hit those crossfield balls, and I mean, I think that Jones is actually. Like the biggest credit I could pay to him was he didn't look out of place at all.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was a big game. And
Yeah.
the other thing I'd say is that he did a lot of covering. He didn't cover, but he had to work alongside of both Jota and Milner on that side, which was the trickiest part of the match, really. And he just handled everything perfectly, I thought, and showed a lot of maturity. And I was just really impressed with his performance. It's great that we can rely on him in spots like that.
Yeah.
Maybe he was covering. Somebody remarked that he's everywhere on the field, and I think he literally was. So I had no idea where he was actually supposed to be playing. But he was on the right, he was on the left, he was at forward, he was all over.
Yeah. He did everything and then some what they asked him to do. So, it's just great. He obviously he didn't make any big mistakes, which is what you look for a young player like that.
Yeah.
And it was just great to see that we could rely on him in a spot like that. So,
Agree. Yeah, I think one of the reasons Nico Williams probably didn't play was because he wants to get Jones on the pitch rather than Williams. That was probably huge.
But Williams did play.
What's that?
But Williams did play.
he did play late.
In the end, after Keita went off. Yeah. Well, then but anyway, yeah. So probably injured players. That probably portends what happens next. Let's look forward a little bit. Obviously, the Atalanta game is Wednesday. A win would guarantee us in the group stages. Last time, a very wise man on this podcast said, we're about to play a weakened team against Atalanta because we've got all these important league games coming up. Clearly, we didn't, and we won 5-0. So I have no idea what team he's going to pick. And then there's Brighton at 7:30, which was probably part of his rant yesterday about scheduling. Definitely
was.
12:30 as in the UK, but 7:30 our time, 4:30 your time, right? Oh my goodness! Brighton on Saturday.
EVR.
I'll be up. Don't worry about
that. Yeah. So I want to ask, what time are you getting up on next Saturday, Alisha? What are your thoughts about the two games coming forward, and maybe some of the team selections that you think he might make to help alleviate some of the damage of playing so frequently?
I don't know. I think, I don't know. He seems to be doing something with rotating, right? He seems to have some sort of greater plan, and obviously the injuries are changing that. But I don't know, man. This is like the first era where I don't feel like I need to micromanage, backseat because he's winning. He's got it all figured out, and I don't know. I'm excited. Well, I mean, the problem is like we get in tunnel vision for Friday and this whole weekend, so I'll be sort of listening for the score, but it's going to be an early day at the shop on Friday and Saturday and Sunday.
So you're just assuming we're going to beat Brighton and you'll pick up on it later. That's
yeah. I'll tune back next Monday and find out.
That's seems reasonable. I think the thing that would concern me a little bit actually is just how his demeanor yesterday after the game. So I know you say he's got it figured out, but I actually think there's a bit more of like kind of just taking it. What players we got available? What's the sports science telling us? And I mean, what was his point? We may not finish the season with 11 players at the present rate. Well, not to put a damper on it, but so Nader, what's your take on the upcoming games? Atalanta, 3 points, guaranteed group stage, could basically play a bunch of reserves in the last two matches.
I'm gonna say we're gonna get 3 points. I don't know, what's gonna happen with the roster. Hopefully we have some people coming back soon, and hopefully there are, no other players going off. But I think we have, a good shot.
Yeah. I think a lot will depend on kind of who comes back when, because it's a world of difference if on Wednesday he's got Shaqiri, Henderson, and Thiago available to kind of inject into that team. Then clearly Salah hopefully should be pretty fresh from his brother's wedding.
Yeah.
So Tim, looking ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. What I was wondering is, does anyone know if the Champions League squad can be altered since we have so many injuries, or is it just, it is what it is?
I think it is what it is.
Okay. Because like looking at the defenders list, not too many of those are in the team right now. So like we could probably it's probably going to end up being Matip and Fabinho again at center back.
I think Klopp's already said that Matip can only play one game a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully Henderson's back then, or maybe we'll see Robbo claiming earlier in the week that he would be happy to play center back if that's what the boss wants, because we didn't include Nat Klein in that number. There's no other center backs available. So it's going to be an interesting selection. I think one of my friends was saying that, we're basically playing with house money at this point. So we need 3 points in our last 3 group stage games in order to finish top of the group. So I don't think Wednesday is a huge concern as far as like advancing goes. I think that's pretty much a foregone conclusion. So my guess is that we'll be conservative Wednesday and maybe hope for better things in the other 2 games. I think Brighton could be tricky for 2 reasons. One, they just beat Aston Villa last weekend. And I don't know, Aston Villa was going to win the league from what I heard. And then the other thing.
Definitely top 4.
Yeah. Wild card, 3 words. Adam, David, Lallana. He's going to score a hat trick probably. So we just have to score 4 Saturday afternoon.
He went off at halftime against Villa. Do you know that?
Of course he did. You just have to meter him out. It's just I think it's I'm not super worried about the next couple of games, just in terms of like how we'll handle them. Like we may or may not dominate games like we did on yesterday. But I think we'll get at least 1 point from both of them. And I think the push is going forward. Like one thing that I've appreciated about how Klopp's been handling things is that, losing Virgil, losing Joe Gomez, losing all the guys that we've lost, he's not phoning it in. He's not admitting defeat. He's still like going for trophies. So I'm in. Take me for a ride.
So the one player I think you've got, by the way, I think Reece Williams, he started against Atalanta away. So I would be surprised if he didn't start.
Is he in the squad?
Yeah, he's in the European squad because he played in Atalanta.
Clearly Google has failed me. I'm sorry.
so obviously it's
he did pick up a knock, but I think he's okay.
Williams, Another and Tsimikas.
Yeah, Tsimikas. I think we'll definitely see him.
Yeah.
Because I think Robertson played 2 of 3 of Scotland's games during the break.
Yeah. Clearly he wasn't. I don't know how many yards he ran or meters or whatever on Sunday, but it looked like a lot. So it wasn't like he had.
Yeah, he wasn't as tightened up as Naby was.
No. So Sean, clearly we're looking out to the next 2 games, but I think the big game on the horizon, based on what you've said, we're playing our biggest challenger. I think 4 games away, beginning of December, middle of December, we're playing Tottenham. So what are your thoughts about maybe looking ahead too far?
Well, that is true, but the Tottenham match comes in the middle of a pretty relatively easy stretch of games. If you look at our festive period this year, which is, December 19th through January 2nd, we have Palace, West Brom, Newcastle, and Southampton. So that's not too bad. In the past,
Southampton's a top 4 team, sir.
well, it is. You're right. But
Without Danny Ings.
on the back of Palace, West Brom, and I think we'll be okay. But so it is. I mean, that's the one positive thing is December, other than the Spurs game, is a relatively easy stretch. We played a lot of our toughest games in the first half of the schedule so far. I would expect us to play a kind of a weaker, more rotated side against Atalanta. Given like what Tim said, we only really need 3 points to advance, and you'd expect we'd pick those up against Michelin. So I think we're going to go, kind of focus on the league, and especially with the Wednesday to early Saturday rotation, I would expect some heavy rotation on Wednesday. But like you, Paul, I'm not the best at picking lineups, so it's always I can't always predict what Klopp's going to do there, but I would expect some heavy rotation on that one.
I was just thinking, this is exactly what you and I said before the last Atalanta game. This time for sure he's going to rotate, right? So.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, like, we sort of embarrassed Atalanta the last time we went there. I mean, they're one of the best teams in Serie A, and we completely blew the doors off. I mean, we could have won that game 6-0 or something, So they're going to come out fired up, but for all the reasons we've just said, I think we'll be looking to rotate. So
here's where we need an Italian football expert to tell us what Atalanta have actually been doing since we last played them. I have no idea, frankly. Not paid any attention. Tim's going to Google it.
Yeah.
So, this has been, I think it's been an awesome episode. Alisha, Nader, thanks for joining us. Tim, we're going to do one last round. Okay, one thing you saw that might be Reds related from the last week that you'd like to share. Who wants to go first?
Not everyone at once.
Okay, well, in that case, I'm going to... Alisha, we're going to you. Okay.
I mentioned it before, just celebrating Bobby's goal. I mean, you don't see that sort of... I mean, every single person wanted both kind of collectively and individually to... And that sort of team spirit and togetherness, I mean, don't underestimate that, because that can... That's super important, and it's there, and I don't know, that's what I picked up on, was just how everybody is playing for each other, and that's the sign of a healthy team right there.
Yeah, I do think that's one of the things that differentiates us, particularly this season, from Manchester City. I thought it was significant that Guardiola signs a new 2-year deal, and they go out and play like they don't really care. I mean, I've honestly felt there was a bit of a message in their performance. I saw probably like 60, 70 minutes of the game, and it wasn't that they were terrible, but they didn't look like a team who were like, great, our coach is staying with us for 2 more years. So, which I think is a big difference between us and them. Yeah. So, Nada, one thing from the last week.
Sure. Well, I mean, this might be more of a cop-out in a way, but I think I saw today that they're saying fans will be coming back soon. So I think they said it might be, I think most stadiums are looking at like 4,000 fans, but I think they said depending on what's going on around the area, it might be more like 2,000, something like that for Anfield.
Yeah. I don't know if you know, but they've actually been doing, they're doing this experiment in Liverpool where they've tried to do like mass testing so that they know exactly, how much spread there is. And the person who's been pushing it's actually the public health guy in Liverpool, is a season ticket holder at Anfield. And he's been out there really trying to encourage people on the basis that if we're able to prove that we have like fewer cases than anywhere else, we're more likely to get people back in our stadium. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if you're in Liverpool and you haven't been tested, we'd strongly advocate it, because we'd like to get back to the stadium too. So thank you. That's a good one. Good one.
All right.
So Tim, what do you got for us?
I'm going to go back to, you mentioned how yesterday Leicester really seemed to be focusing on James Milner, which opened up Andy Robertson. And post-match interview, the guy from Sky said to Milner, "Boy, they really seem to be focusing on you today." And Milner said, "Yeah, I would too." And I just went, I was wearing my James Milner shirt from the Anfield Shop, and I was like, "Yeah, that's my guy." So I couldn't appreciate him more, basically in every way that he represents the team. So I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, I saw that. He also seemed a little bit angry that he wasn't being picked more. Actually, it was kind of, it's like, yeah. So Sean, what final takeaway from you?
In terms of things this week, I think one of the things that has maybe been a little bit overlooked is the fact that I guess Ox is close to coming back. Which, to be honest with you, I think Ox's form since he's had his injury, when he went through that period where he was fantastic in our first Champions League run, he's not been as good. But the one thing he does bring is a lot of flexibility. He can play a lot of positions, and that could be really important to us this year if he can stay healthy, because he can play, at least right back, if not left back, and he can play, in a couple, at least, one position, if not two positions in the midfield, and he can also play on the wing. So it could be really important. It's, in terms of our depth, could be a big help moving forward. So
He's going to be huge to get some of the midfielders back, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right. I mean, so, Thiago and Henderson and Trent should all be back relatively soon, but it's, we're going to have to see how this season plays on with the injury issues. I mean, I think we're not going to be the only club that are hit by injuries, but the way things are going, I think we can expect more injuries at our club and at a lot of other clubs too. So the more depth, the better. And so it's always good to kind of have, players that can be flexible and play different positions, fill in holes there for you. So he could play a big role for us this year.
So I'm going to build on that and close with, so Klopp talked about the number of injuries of the people are suffering. He talked about Piqué being out for 4 or 5 months, which I'm sure is not going to help Barcelona. He talked about Saka, the Arsenal player, going down after playing 3 games for England. But the thing that I was going to finish with was I went and checked this because someone had commented. Apparently, Klopp's interview that we saw here in the US on NBC Sports was edited when it was shown on Sky. So when he was commenting on how the TV companies need to get together and put together a better schedule that serves the players, apparently that wasn't shown in the UK, and apparently that made him even more mad today. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow's interview or his press conference before the Atalanta game. And that's probably a good place to leave it. Again, Alisha and Nader, thanks so much for joining us. Tim, great to see you again. Sean.
Thank you so much.